What's up, everybody? Just waiting for the live on my end to kick off. All right, we're good. Classic beat. I don't know how many times we're gonna have to start these with DJ Premier beats. They're just so good. But what's up, everybody? Well, I'm gonna just let the beat go for a second. What's up, Brewski? What's up, Rex Righteous? What's up, Uzi Chrome Hearts? And what's up, Eric Lopez? Good to see everybody. Brewski starts by saying, always look forward to hearing your insights, Sean. Some of the best boxing talk on YouTube. I appreciate that so much. And without further ado, let's start the show. Let's cut the DJ Premier in together now with Method Man to start the show. All right, so yesterday, everybody, your man, your boy, whichever one you prefer, was in Dallas, Texas to go see Derek James, go to his gym, and go see Ryan Garcia for what is so far the biggest fight this year in America. Actually, it's not. Canelo Munguia is going to be bigger 2 weeks later, but is a really big fight. One of the biggest fights of the year. Went down to Dallas because I got to get up close to the fighters. It's not enough to just sit at home and see on television or on YouTube. I like to get up close and really get a good look and an observation at how fighters are looking heading into their big fights. So that's what I went down there to do for Ryan Garcia. And we're going to look at some tape right away. Let me get to it in just a moment. And we'll start off hot. We'll get to the break. Actually, no. I'm getting ahead of myself, chat. I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me walk this back for a second and quickly give you my notes. All right, so quickly, let's go over some good things that I saw from Ryan Garcia. And we'll start with the good, right? We'll go with the top 4 good things I saw. So number one is improved stamina under Derek James. Ryan was a guy who didn't throw a whole lot of punches per round. And under Derek James, I saw him throwing many more punches per round, per minute than he did under Eddie Reynoso and certainly Joe Goosen. So that's a good thing. And he handled the pace well. I saw some people on social media, because I posted some clips from the workout, that Ryan looked tired. He didn't look good. I was there, and he never started to really breathe heavy. He talked throughout his whole workout, and I was impressed with his conditioning. He was throwing more punches per round, and he was handling the Derek James pace very well. And speaking of Derek James, his signature was on display. One of the things that really helped mold Errol Spence into a champion, the catch and shoot game. Catch, shoot, shoot. Catch, shoot, shoot. Catch, shoot, shoot. Someone clip that. But catch and shoot game. That's Derek James' specialty. What's not his specialty is upper body movement, head movement, like an Eddie Reynoso will teach or a Bomac will teach. But his catch and shoot game is immaculate. He has a great catch and shoot game that he teaches his fighters. And I definitely saw Ryan doing it at a higher level than I've ever seen him do it before. So that was good. Another good thing was he's not as weak heading into the Tank fight. When I went to the Hollywood Hills for his workout with Tank Davis, the kid looked very skinny. And despite being so thin, he still had some softness in the back area. And I said on that live last year, back when I was on Fight Hype, that he looks weak to the body. And sure enough, he got knocked out to the body. Tank told me about the body shot, the mole in camp. That was all, honestly, my storyline that I kind of uncovered, the whole body thing, that Ryan could be weak to the body. But this fight, he looks much more filled out and much healthier and stronger heading into the fight, not having to get all the way down to 136 with the rehydration clause. And then lastly, what we already know, power. You can't teach it. He's got it more than Haney. More than most, he has power. And in person, all the way from when I would go up to San Diego to see him train for Emmanuel to go, he just has impressive punching power. He can punch, and you can't teach that. So, but now let's get to the not so positive. Let's get to the bad things. And quickly, the bad things are that he still stands straight up. He doesn't move his upper body, and Derek James is not helping him in that regard. Eddie Reynoso helped him a little bit in that regard. We all know Canelo's excellent head movement. That's Eddie Reynoso, but Derek James, great high guard, great busy pace, great use of the lead hand, but his fighters don't move their head for the most part. And Frank Martin does, but that was Frank Martin's style before he got to Derek James. Same with Jermell Charlo with Ronnie Shields. And then Jermell actually leaned heavily into Joan Guzman to become undisputed, to make the adjustments from the draw to Castano to knocking him out. So he still stands straight up, does Ryan Garcia. He just does. He stands straight up, you know, and that's what he does. Not a lot of bend in the knees and virtually no head movement, upper body, waist movement. As Eddie Reynoso says in Spanish, flex your waist, flex your waist. He doesn't do that. Feet don't always appear underneath him when he's punching, and we will take a look at that here, right here in this footage. But his feet aren't always like truly underneath him, you know, and that's where the power and the balance and being able to still have defensive position comes from, is really having your feet underneath you and having good balance. Easier said than done. He does it a lot better than I do, but still. So there's times you'll see in this training footage we're going to look at where throwing a lot of punches, but his feet aren't underneath him. And really, sans Manny Pacquiao, I can't, that always really hurts effectiveness. Pacquiao was a guy who got away with that. But, you know, I don't know if it bodes as well for Ryan. Now, and part of why Pacquiao got away with it, he was so fast, he threw so many punches, and he was so darting in and out, in and out, in and out. Even though his feet weren't underneath him, they were so fast in and out, you know, he was Manny Pacquiao. Looks stronger making 140, like I said earlier, but his body doesn't look great. You keep hearing Devin Haney call him fat, call him fat. He looks better. Ryan looks better in photos than he does in person. Now, don't get me wrong. Most of us watching this, me doing, we will take it. We'll take it. We'll take any kind of six-pack. But for Ryan, not as ripped up as I've seen him in the past, and you keep seeing Devin Haney point that out to him. He looked a little heavy before this fight was announced. So I think that's it's harder for him to get the weight off. Not everybody is like, you know, Devin Haney and can put on 20, 30 pounds and then come right back down. Some guys, as they get older, it gets harder to take that weight off. So, and then lastly, on the not so good things, scattershot brain. Devin Haney is only thinking of beating Ryan Garcia, only thinking of his skills and his game plan. And I joked around with Ryan when he was shadowboxing. I said, "Hey, Ryan, you get into Bill Cooper yet?" He goes, "No, I don't know who that is." Quickly for you guys, Ryan, who's into all the Illuminati stuff right now, I've been there. I told him, go look out Bill Cooper. You'll dig it. And Bill Cooper predicted 9/11. 2-3 weeks later, after 9/11, he died. But point is, that's good and all. I don't condemn the young man for being intellectually curious enough to look up the conspiracies. Many of them turn out to be true and all of that. But I know from my personal experience, when I would focus on that stuff too much, it can bog you down and kind of hinder you with completing the tasks in front of you daily and all that. So between, you know, he just seemed a lot more scattershot brain, and Devin just looks totally locked in and focused. And speaking of Ryan, appreciate the how engaging he was yesterday. He was more, I think, not making the tough 136-pound weight. He had a little bit more energy for us media guys yesterday and was very engaging, and I appreciate that for him. But you know, and we'll get to why in a minute. I still got to pick Devin Haney to win this fight, and we'll get to why in a minute. But first, let's take a look at some footage. Finally, one moment here. All right, let's take a look at some footage, guys. So there it is right away, like the catch and shoot. But all right, let me let this play out a little bit. So you see right away, catch and shoot. Like it's what I always talk about with Derek James. This is one of his strongest suits, and that's what he did right away. But this is new concepts for him to grasp. And he's trying to grasp new concepts in just his second fight with Derek. And, you know, people like Lennox Lewis with Emmanuel Stewart, Vladimir Klitschko with Emmanuel Stewart. Who else was I just thinking of? Eddie Reynoso with Oscar Valdez. They had multiple fights before the big assignment came up. And this big assignment has came up quickly, probably too quickly, because so many of the things Ryan really needs to grasp full hold that Derek's been teaching a guy like Errol Spence since he was a kid, he's got to grasp it already in his second fight. And I just think that catch and shoot won't be enough defensively. Maybe I think Ryan's going to be very dangerous in this fight early on, but the less nuance and sophistication you have to your skill and your style, the easier you become to figure out, especially with a smart fighter like Devin. And I just think the high guard catch and shoot stuff, walking Devin down, the improvements in the catch and shoot can make him have some really nice moments in the first 2 to 3 rounds, but inevitably, trying like Errol Spence did against Terrence Crawford, you're going to get lit up in the high guard if that's all you got. And I see Devin coming over the top of that jab that he's working on right here, right there. I think by rounds 3 or 4, he's getting countered over the top of that jab with the right hand. But Devin needs to counterpunch a little bit more. I went back and watched his fight with Regis Prograis, and it was a really strong performance. I was so impressed ringside, but when I was on the plane to Dallas and really taking a deep dive into tape, one thing I realized about the Regis Prograis fight for Devin was that he did a lot of jumping in and out to be effective. And a lot of times later in the fight, and he could do the same thing with Ryan, because as we're gonna see, as we talked about, the feet aren't always underneath him. Regis had bad feet too, and he was always out of range. Devin could do what he wants footwork-wise, and he could probably do much of the same with Ryan, because Ryan's feet aren't the best, just like Prograis' feet aren't the best. But if Devin wants a knockout in this fight, if he doesn't want to just hear you went 12 and Tank knocked him out, he's got to focus more on the counterpunching. And to really be a great counterpuncher like Crawford was against Spence, you have to stay in range. You could take half steps out. You don't have to fight in mid to close range or anything like that, but you have to stay in range where after you make a miss, you're still in range to touch the other guy. And Devin against Prograis did a lot of getting off first and then backing out in range with his feet and making Prograis fall short. But when he backs out that far, the counterpunch isn't there, even though he would make Prograis fall short. In this fight, with Ryan in front of him and throwing the jab the way he does, and I want to see Devin really counterpunch in this fight with the right hand, because I think it's there. So there was about 3 minutes into here, I felt like Ryan threw a good combination. Ryan's always had a good straight right hand, but kind of underutilized. His straight punches have always been underutilized. The jab and the right hand. The jab and the straight right hand. And okay, so you're seeing Ryan jab a lot, right? I believe if we went back to Devin Haney's workout, you'll see the stab to the body off the jabbing. And I want to say what's up to One Way Renzo said, first day here, respect. Thank you, man. Oh, Rex Righteous, it's kind of weird that he's talking so much during the training. Do I got to lower the training audio so you can hear me clearer? Okay, so you see the way... Oops. Let me lower that a little bit so I can talk clearer over it. Forgive me, chat. All right. So you see the way that he's doing the jab. From what I recall with Devin stabbed the body with his jab. And I think, it's real technical boxing stuff. I really think this is going to matter in the fight. Devin, on his workout, stabbed the body with the jab, stabbed the body. People that love Floyd Mayweather will always tell you that may have actually been his best punch. If it wasn't, it was just very, very important to his game, was the stab to the body from Floyd. And Devin, he works his levels with his jab. He changes the speed on it. Ryan pretty much always throws it the same way, and it's a good jab. And but like Oscar De La Hoya told me, and we'll look at that interview, he doesn't really stick with it. Oscar said he has to stick with it. Oscar said the key to this fight for Ryan is the jab. Oscar said when you're facing a long-range fighter who fights with the lead hand down, you got to jab him a lot. And remember, in later in the fight with Floyd, Oscar jabbed to his chest and had a really good jab round doing that. And people asked why he stopped doing it. Counter right hand, pull right hand will do that to you. But basically, Ryan always throws his jab at one speed. He abandons it after 2 or 3 rounds, and I've never seen him stab to the body with it. Devin is consistent with his jab. He gets away with it. He gets away from it too much sometimes too. But he definitely uses it more than Ryan. He stabs to the body. He changes speed on it. He can shoot the jab out of the high guard. It's usually right here, down low, up. And again, stab the body. So he's going to out-jab Ryan. And once you're out-jabbing the other guy, that's when you can start to pick him apart and set up the power shots because you know where he's always at off the jab. And he's getting beat at range. At which point, Ryan doesn't really think, or Derek think he could outbox him. But once you get beat at range, now you got to come forward, and he's got to come forward, and Ryan does, and be excellent off the catch and shoots. And that, I'm not picking Ryan, I'm picking Devin, but that's the path to victory for Ryan, is that he uses his jab more so that he doesn't just get dominated on the outside. He doesn't just let Devin pick him apart with the jab, with the levels with the jab. And he uses his jab more. He jabs with the jabber. And he walks forward off the catch and shoots. And if he could walk Devin down and get to mid-range and get off something hard off a catch and shoot, if the catch and shoots are working and he could walk Devin down, that's how he wins the fight. But he has to do it behind the jab. If he tries to just walk in with the catch and shoot, Devin's just going to split the high guard every which way. He as the fight goes on, not right away. I think Ryan could have success with the catch and shoot early on, even without a jab a little bit. But by rounds 4, 5, 6, he's going to start getting lit up. And Ryan's not a guy that's ever shown adjustments. He's always gotten by. For the best Ryan Garcia we may have ever seen may have already passed us in the Luke Campbell fight with Eddie Reynoso, because his mechanics in some ways have regressed since he left Reynoso. Goosen didn't do much for him. And he's always been a guy who relies on what God gave him for the most part. Tall, punches hard, very fast, but doesn't make a whole lot of adjustments. So I see that being an issue for him as it goes on, but let's see. So there's that feet. And you'll see the more he begins to throw combinations, sometimes his feet aren't underneath him, especially when he has to walk Derek down. His feet don't look the best. Or even right there, if he catches like that, but Devin brings a hook behind the right hand, or Devin could work a body shot in off of that. And work levels with his combination. Something, even though Ryan had that great left hook knockout to the body against Luke Campbell, he doesn't work levels a whole lot. You've seen Devin work levels in that Lomachenko fight. He threw to the body a lot. So right there, that would be open. And there again, like the catch and shoot ain't going to be enough. Right there, you see Derek making him catch the jab to the body. Catching right there. But that high guard can be split by a guy who has an arsenal of punches from different angles, different levels. And that's what you saw in the Terrence Crawford fight. Right there. His feet, like I said, chat, his feet aren't really underneath him right there on that triple jab. Steph, right here. See that? He's pushing, like his feet aren't really underneath him. Feet are underneath him right here because he's more stationary. He's not having to walk forward. And that's good stuff. But Devin's not going to be standing in front of him. Good stuff. Derek James improving his punch selection and his combinations. Good stuff. But how often is Devin going to be standing right there in the middle of the ring with him like Derek is when he gets this off? There's a combination coming up that I really did like from Ryan. But right there, again, he's coming forward, and his feet aren't really underneath him. And you don't see side steps off the front foot. Julio Cesar Chavez talked about when you cut the ring off, a big part of it is the little side steps. You almost square up for a second so that if he's trying to escape to your right, take that little side step to the right, boom, punch it, lead where he's going to go, freeze him on the rope, all that. But, you don't really see Ryan doing the little sides, the little lateral steps as he comes forward with his feet nice and underneath him to cut the ring off, and not just cut distance, but have your legs underneath you so you could really deliver with power as you cut distance. Ryan's at times been a pressure fighter. He tried to pressure Tank and had success until he got dropped. And I think he's going to pressure Devin. And I think he'll be very dangerous in this fight early. And Devin will have to take his time in the first 2 to 3 rounds. And if Devin isn't really locked in on his counterpunching and he's in and out, then he might not get Ryan out of there. And this could very well go 12. What's up, Ashley Schaefer? How you doing? What's up, Red? Red said, Red, is that Red Spikes, Red? Red is good to see you, Red. Said Ryan is taking a crash course training with Derek compared to Spence. He is. He's got to learn all this stuff in less than 12 months to fight one of the best fighters in the world. That's not easy. Brewski said, man, oh man, what a shocker it'd be if Ryan did something special. If Ryan pulls it off, I will eat my crow. I'll eat my crow and I'll acknowledge that none of this aged well. But that's not how I see it going. There's always foreshadowing heading into big fights. You just got to hope that you see the foreshadowing before it unveils on fight night. Red said, I think his feet are more outside to maintain distance from rangy punches. But I see how that may be a problem in some instances. Appreciate that, Red. All right, so let's get back to it. And so, okay, here's another thing. And Henry Garcia acknowledged this in my interview with him, Ryan's father. So you see a lot of these punches from Ryan, but so there's a little bit of a trade-off there, because before Ryan didn't throw a lot of punches, but everything was hard. Now Derek's got him throwing more punches, but not everything is hard. And you saw that from Errol Spence. He would throw workman-like punches and then sit down on some of them. So you're trading in it sounds good, and it is good to be busy like that. But the problem is a lot of those punches, the softer ones, the ones that aren't at full speed, I don't know how effective they can be against the elite of the elite like a Devin Haney. So yeah, Derek may have him throwing 60, 70, 80 punches around on the mitts, but how many of those punches can he really throw against Devin at half speed without getting countered over them, or punched in between them with a real sharp, fast shot being thrown at full speed? Again, when he moves his feet, it comes apart a little bit. Maybe I'm being too harsh, but when he stands and delivers, it looks very good. Like, that's good stuff. Good combinations. But then he has to go forward. And then his feet are planted again, and he looks good again. So we'll see. His ability to cut the ring off, all his catch and shoots with Derek is going to be put to the test against Devin. But damn, just looking at him again, though, he does look so much stronger coming into this fight than he did against Tank. Like, look at his legs even. He ain't got the biggest legs in the world, but just his whole frame is much more filled out than when I went up to Hollywood last year. And this is and that's another thing that's good for Ryan. This is such a better environment for him. I said on my live last year when I went to the Hollywood Hills to see him train for Tank, I'm like, this is no place for a prize fighter. Tank's coming with the grit from Baltimore. Calvin's got him training like a maniac. He's getting it from the mud kind of thing in a tough boxing environment. I saw Tank spar Sean Porter up at Mount Charleston when Sean was getting ready for Crawford. I saw him spar Sean at a juvenile correctional facility. That's grit. That's grit. That's not pretty. That's not Hollywood. Ryan was literally in Hollywood training at a mansion last time. This is much, much better for him. That's a rusty-ass gym in the middle of Dallas that Derrick James has, and that's the kind of vibe you want in your boxing gym. The DZ6 said, can you describe the gym? I always hear how gritty it is in Oak Cliffs down. You know what? I got you. Let me quickly upload that to my YouTube channel, and I'll make it private so that you can see. I'm happy you asked that. I actually shot the gym just because I thought someone like you might find it interesting, the DZ6, so I got you. Derrick's gym. Boom. Give it a minute, the DZ, and I'll pull the video up. Who said that? King Easy said feet crossing, shaking my head. Right. Ashley Schaefer said everybody will be eating crow, but that's not happening. Ryan should have been fighting Rolly. Jumping straight in with Tank and Devin just isn't smart. Ryan is not developed. Great comment, Ashley Schaefer. Great comment. Ryan is like many in that generation, but not Devin. Well, it's not even. I don't even want to pick on the kids, man. It's an age-old tale. Quickly falling in love with fame and money, and yeah, Ryan felt like Oscar De La Hoya was holding him back. He felt underpaid for a few fights, and he didn't seem to really want to go through the gauntlet and the development of fighting contenders and all that, and getting yourself into peak. Allowing yourself to gradually get better fight to fight and then reach a peak like Devin Haney is doing right now. And he quickly wanted that money, and he believed that Lupe Valencia and those people had his best interests in heart because they're the ones that are going to make him all the fucking money. And Oscar's holding him back from the $20-30 million Tank fight. But sometimes there's a trade-off in life. You get one thing but have to exchange another. And so Ryan, in getting these big money fights, has exchanged his development in return for it. So his decision. And he's got a lot of money to get over this potential loss coming his way. And that's good for him. But money ain't everything. Yeah, if he could get the fight to that range, he could do some great damage, but I just don't know. Come on, cameraman. I just don't know how much he could get in that range with Devin when Devin's rangy and has good feet that he constantly uses, and your feet aren't good. You gotta. It's not the hands, it's the feet that gotta catch Devin Haney. Then you could work with your hands, and the hands look good when they're planted, but they don't look as good when he has to cut the ring off, and I think that'll be an issue. Also, it can make a guy like Devin, where if your feet are planted and really underneath you, you could take the punch better. But if he's walking forward without real great balance, that can increase his chances if he walks into a right hand of going down because his feet aren't really underneath him. See, good jab from Ryan when he does that, but it's always at one speed. It's always up top. It's never an up jab. It's never a stab to the body. You know what I mean? No, he'll up jab sometimes. That's early in the fight. He will. But he gets away from it way too much. And he can't do that in this fight. He has to stay with his jab. When you try to come forward without a jab, it's like coming forward. It's like coming in naked. You're coming in without anything on. The one big thing that Robert Garcia gave Marcos Maidana to allow him to beat Broner and compete with Floyd Mayweather, where before he couldn't beat Amir Khan, was a jab. And a jab to the body sometimes. So go back and watch those Chino Maidana fights. He used his jab to the body before the big looping shots on the ropes and all that. And that was Robert Garcia. We got 60 people in here. Hit the like, please. Do I think Ryan could wear Devin down in the later rounds? Well, if he's making Devin use up a lot of energy and he's being efficient, like he's walking forward and not wasting a lot of energy with head movement, and Ryan wins this fight if his catch and shoots are really effective. If he can walk behind the catch and shoots, then he can really have success in this fight as he closes that gap. If Devin is having problems landing clean on the high guard as Ryan's coming forward, that Derek James high guard and catch and shoot stuff, then Ryan's in business. He can win this fight. But I just think after about 3 rounds, Devin's gonna figure that out and start punching in it, right around it and in between it. He said, my bad, right? Because his feet aren't really underneath him right there. Right there again, like that ain't gonna get it done, man. He's not. For a moment there, his vision's blind in between his gloves. The best fighters that have the guys with the best defense, Pernell, Bernard, Floyd, their eyes are wide open at all times. They see everything coming. And so Devin Haney's not quite there. Devin Haney sees a lot coming. I still see him at times slip shots, trusting that his hand's in the right place, but not actually always seeing the punch. But for the most part, Devin sees a lot. He has a very good radar. Shakur's is a little bit better. But yeah. And that's coming from someone who's always favored Devin over Shakur if they fight at 140 plus. But Shakur's vision a little bit better in that regard. So, I mean, when it comes to the high guard and catching, that's Derek James all day, but no head movement. And Derek, I remember, had a video with Dante's Boxing Nation. I know he doesn't like me, but even if people don't like me, I can respect and give due to what they are good at, what they know. And Dante does know boxing, and that's why he had a son that's a good amateur fighter too. And in an interview with Dante, Derek had basically explained why he doesn't really love head movement or believe in it. And to be fair to him, I once saw Floyd Mayweather when he was sparring say something similar. He's like, you don't need to. Well, Floyd wasn't a fan of like the peekaboo head movement. He was mocking it. He's like, when guys get underneath, he was like, bink. Bink! He said that's what he does to guys that try to get underneath and do that. He's like, you just got to be right here and see it come in from here. And that's kind of what Derek was getting at. Like, you don't need to be moving your head. Keep the jab on him, pivot off on the angle, catch, pivot off on the angle, jab on him, and all. And that's all good stuff. But the difference between what Derek was talking about and Floyd agreeing with some of it is Floyd still moved his head, had great upper body movement. Didn't always need it. He could catch off the shoulder roll. He could make you hit the shoulder. But best believe Floyd had head movement all day. And I just think to critique a 4-time trainer of the year, who's a very good trainer, that everybody's got weaknesses. Everybody's got flaws in boxing and outside of boxing. And that's one of the weaknesses to the style he teaches. What's up, Bird? What's up, Deshaun? Deshaun says, seeing you break this down has me leaning Haney even more. He has the best feet in boxing. He comes from different angles and quickly. Slow feet don't eat in any sport. True that. That's a good one. Slow feet don't eat in any sport. That's a good one, Deshaun. Maybe you should start a channel and do your thing. That was good. But the thing for me, Deshaun, in this fight, I said it 10, 15 minutes ago, I want to see Devin a little more in range. I want to see that counter punching. That's what I want to see. A little bit of that Floyd Mayweather, Terrence Crawford coming over the top of the other fighter's jab. I want to see that in this fight because it's there. It's there. And seeing Devin work on that triple right hand that reminded me of Floyd against Endo, I want to see it. He can win this fight because, like Regis Prograis, Ryan's feet aren't the best. He can dart in and out of range at times and just win the fight like that. But if he really wants to impress people in this fight, he's got to counterpunch more than just outbox the other guy. Outboxing is getting off first, getting out of the way, resetting, getting off first, getting out of the way of what's coming back, resetting. Counterpunching is sometimes you get off first and then you counter what's coming back. And then sometimes it's you don't get off first. You let him get off first to set up the counter. And that, I think, it's not like a a preference thing, like, oh, I just like counterpunching more than the in and out style. It's no, I want to see Devin round out into more complete as he makes a march towards one of the top guys marching towards number one pound for pound. And so in this fight against this opponent, now's the time to really bring out any counterpunching he's really been working on. Because he has a kid in front of him who's a puncher, who should be in front of him most of the night, and has a jab that becomes predictable as the fight goes on. It's a good foil for Devin to show off that pull right hand that he was working on the bag. Ryan Garcia has stronger power? Absolutely. Molly Mall said, Sean really is the new Max Kellerman with this boxing shit. Thank you, Molly Mall. Thank you, man. Max was a genius on the Friday Night Fights days. Even I got to get there. And feet not the best coming forward. So I think I wrapped it up the best. I feel like that was fair to Ryan. And we could quickly look at the heavy bag, but in a minute we'll switch gears to boots. But this was interesting what Oscar said. I want to recap this.
Hoya, what did you think of how Ryan looked? That right hand he has is vicious. It's fast and it's strong.
I've always thought his right hand is good and underutilized. And I said before the Tank fight, the way he would have won that fight is his right hand. Because when you try to force the hook, you give up distance. And Tank was 5'5", and this kid's almost 5'10". I knew Ryan was never going to be this great jabber. It's just not something he does. But he has a good straight right hand that's underutilized. And in the Tank fight, I said, if he uses the straight right hand, because Tank will give away rounds. If he uses the straight right hand, let me get to it. If he uses the straight right hand, he could win that fight. Again, that's the way he wins, because Tank will give you rounds. Here you go. I'm warming up. I'm doing what I'm doing. I'm figuring you out. I'm downloading data, like they used to say about Lomachenko. But he downloads it for longer, but makes up for it because he knocks you out inside the 12 rounds. But if he would stick with the straight right hand, by the way, it's not a coincidence. It's the right hand he was catching Gervonta with for a round and a half before Gervonta sat him down with that left hand bomb. And because if you touch him with the right hand, you keep your distance with the straight right hand. If you try to force the hook when it's not there, now you're not controlling distance in the, keeping the smaller guy at the end of there. And so what Ryan should have done was right hand wins the fight for the first half. When Tank gets behind on the cards, like he's done against Barrios, or he was him and Rolly was nip and tuck for 6 rounds, and then he got him out of there because he gives away rounds, doesn't throw a lot of punches. Once Tank has some making up to do, because he's given you some of the early rounds and he's coming forward more, that's when you can run him into the hook. But it was not to be. So let's hear what Oscar said about that stuff.
Keeping it compact is very impressed. Right?
What's up, Tay Jones? What's up, Tay? I hope I'm doing okay, Tay. Because Tay fights for real as a pro, as we all know. Bomb Squad's in the house. But Tay, I hope I'm doing my thing, man. Remember, I had my little amateur fights, Tay. So let me live. Let's hear me out. Hear me out. Rewind if you didn't hear the tape breakdown, Big Tay.
A lot of people are asking me, like, or not a lot, but a couple of questions here were like, what do you compare this fight to? Like when you were fighting, this is like me and Mosley in a way.
I knew he was going to say that because Oscar De La Hoya, Shane Mosley, both from Southern California, fought a whole bunch of times as kids, twice, not 6 times. Devin Haney, Ryan Garcia, both from Southern California, fought each other a bunch of times as kids. But the difference was, Oscar, you and Shane was at sold-out Staples Centers with every celebrity ever known to man ringside at the fight. And the Lakers were about to win their first of 3 titles like 2 days after in that same arena. And this fight is not that, because Devin Haney is on the right path towards being a Oscar De La Hoya and a Sugar Shane Mosley, but so far Ryan is not. And when Shane moved up, he was the best lightweight in the world. He was top 5 pound for pound, and he was he still goes down alongside Pernell Whitaker, Ike Williams, Roberto Duran as maybe the greatest lightweight that ever lived. And he was moving up to fight Oscar, who was the face of boxing, and most people still thought was really undefeated after the Trinidad loss. So this ain't quite that, Oscar, but you're a promoter. You're doing your job. You're doing a good job. I just got to do my job and point out the discrepancies there.
Our prime, and Ryan has speed and power, and then you got Mosley, who's like a master boxer. Like, this is almost similar, so it's going to be a hell of a fight.
Also, stylistically, it's not that similar. Ryan's a puncher who doesn't really have a concrete identity stylistically as a fighter. And then Devin is more of a pure boxer who is busy. He does throw a good amount of punches per round, but he's more of a pure boxer. Oscar and Shane were two pure boxer punchers. So stylistically, it's different too.
You actually walked Mosley down in that first fight in particular. Is that probably what we're going to see, kind of like the first fight, high-speed chess and Ryan walking down?
I really think so. It's going to be a high-speed chess. I think it's going to be a battle of will. Who's going to want to...
I'm happy Oscar's really into boxing again.
Stay in the front and walk him down. And I think we're going to see a little of everything. Boxing, fighting, inside fighting, we're going to see it all. It's going to be a good fight.
What do you think of the catch and shoots that Derek's
I love that. Yeah. I love that. Every time you get hit, come right back.
That wasn't really a part of Oscar's game. Oscar got his counters off head movement and setting offense up off his jab. Oscar didn't do a whole lot of catch and shoot in his day. It was more... Oscar is one of the last great American fighters that had like the great traditional USA boxing style, which was lateral movement, head movement, using the jab to set up everything, combinations, body head. And that was Sugar Ray Leonard, that was Tommy Hearns, that was Oscar. And I'm trying to think, like, you know who actually has that style very much is Clarissa. Clarissa Shields, 2-time gold medalist from the USA boxing program. But a lot of these guys, they for the last 20 years have said, fuck the Olympics. I'm ready to get paid and ready to be a pro. The amateurs is bullshit. You got to fight guys who are 30 years old from other countries and they rob you. So you've kind of seen that style die a little bit, and it's a shame. Oscar's one of the guys that really had that traditional, beautiful USA boxing style.
Your opponent won't expect it, so he's surely not going to expect it from Ryan.
Amanda says, what's up, Sean? Amanda and Johnny, your favorite boxing couple, checking in. Happy to see you here, man. Thank you, Amanda. You don't actually have to listen to the whole thing, Amanda. Just leave a tab open so I still get the viewer, and I'll appreciate it. But I love you and Johnny. You guys are so awesome. Beautiful couple to see at the fights. And Tay, did you say Clarissa Shields at the same time I was thinking it? Because your chat came in right as I said it, too.
So I think it's a great tactic. It's a great,
Unknown Samurai, rewind.
Offense at the same time, so yeah, I'm excited, man. I'm excited. 2 weeks away. Here we go.
I know there's other people waiting.
Rashid Brown said Philip Holiday isn't a Hall of Famer, Sean. No, I know he's not a Hall of Famer. I never said he was. Maybe you misheard me. I was saying Shane is, not Philip Holiday. Maybe you're saying Philip Holiday isn't a Hall of Famer in reference to saying how could you say Shane's one of the greatest lightweights ever when that was his great win? I test.
So, you mentioned about this fight, like the key for Ryan, the jab, because you said when a guy fights with his knee down low and he fights
always jab.
Did you like what you saw from the jab?
It's always the jab. He has one of the more powerful jabs out there. He's got to use it.
He's got to use it. See, Oscar knows exactly what I'm talking about.
One of the more powerful
jabs
out there. He's got to use it.
He abandons it after a round or two. Partly because his boxing IQ, probably. And then the other part is maybe it starts to lose its effectiveness because he doesn't vary it up a lot.
A fighter should always throw between 30 and 40 jabs around. That's it. You throw 30, 40 punches around, you win the fight.
And then lastly, you saw both of these fighters work out, Devin and Ryan. It's not a silly question, but you're the promoter. You can't make a pick. You can't. But
Big Man said, "Shout out Zittel. Shout out to you too, brother. True School in the house. The great, the unfadable, the untouchable."
I'll tell you one thing.
he's a big favorite right now.
Yeah, and I can understand that.
I said Haney's a big favorite. He's 8-1 right now. Like, he's a huge favorite. He's a bigger favorite than Tank was.
History, of both guys. I'll tell you one thing. The explosiveness I saw, that's effortless from Ryan, is pretty scary.
Well, that's a special attribute Ryan has, is his explosiveness. That's God-gifted ability, and he has something in that regard that Devin doesn't.
And he's not even breathing. So
and Oscar said he's not even breathing. That was the first thing I gave Ryan credit for. His conditioning looks better.
I'm confident that I'm confident that it's going to be a great fight, but I'm very confident that something special is going to happen from Ryan. I really do feel that. Like something special is going to happen.
Like you against Carpentier here in Texas.
What's up, Michael Manning? I'm sorry. I'm an Oscar De La Hoya fan. Now I'm always gonna ask the man some real questions, but I can't help myself. I always wind up, when it's him or Bernard or one of the real OGs, I have to always mention like an obscure fight they had that I loved. So Oscar's like something special. I'm like, yeah, like you against Patrick Carpentier in Texas when he fought in front of like 100,000 people.
Like you against Carpentier here in Texas.
Good guy. Shout out to Oscar for always giving his time. All right, so that basically concludes the Ryan stuff. That is how I see the fight going. I got Devin, but if Devin's really going to impress people, he's going to have to counterpunch more than just outbox Ryan. Think Crawford Spence. So yeah, we'll see if we get that. I still pick him to win the fight, even if he doesn't do that. I think he'll win probably more likely he wins a decision, fighting that style like he did against Prograis. But if he's made some improvements as he continues to round out and grow as a fighter, and his counterpunching's on point, that's how he can get the impressive performance he really wants. We'll see. So, shifting gears. Jaron Boots Ennis, one of the most electric talents in boxing. I mean, the man is talent-wise, certainly not accomplishments-wise yet, but talent-wise, the closest thing to Roy Jones that we have in the sport today. And I love Boots Ennis, Benavidez, two of my favorite fighters because they're both, in my eyes, elite and super exciting. And I like Devin Haney a lot too, but as just like the pure, raw, primordial boxing fan in me, I really love me some Boots Ennis and some David Benavidez. So Eddie Hearn, this is huge for Eddie Hearn. I hope there's some of you on this live who were on my first live where I talked about I felt bad for Eddie Hearn when I covered the Richardson-Hitchens fight. I saw the man ringside, and Eddie's got keeps a great disposition about him at all times. But he's human, and I suspected deep down he wasn't really feeling that great that weekend. He started by saying the Fontainebleau is the best casino on the Strip, and I'm like, man, everybody who lives in Vegas knows before you get to the Wynn, it's hood. Like that's the hood part of the Strip that you're on, Eddie. You ain't at the Cosmo. You're not at the Wynn. You're not at the MGM or the Mandalay Bay. Fontainebleau is nice and new, but we're in the hood part of the Strip. So he was at that moment. Instead of promoting Canelo Alvarez at T-Mobile, Canelo's left, gone off to PBC. Instead of promoting Devin Haney, who has allowed him to be shunned in favor of Oscar De La Hoya running the show. They're not buddies, Oscar and Eddie. And so Eddie goes from Canelo at T-Mobile and all that to now he has to do Richardson, Hitchens, and Diego Pacheco in front of 1,500 people in the hood part of the Strip, right? And so I looked at him ringside and I said, deep down, he has to be feeling like this is not what I envisioned for my big conquering of the American market in 2018, 2019, when I got $1 billion from DAZN. I did not envision it culminating in a 1,500-seat arena with Richardson, Hitchens, and Diego Pacheco, who are good prospects, but not like Boots Ennis, not a blue-chip foundational piece, at least not yet. And I like both fighters, but that's just me being real. And so I felt a little bad for him. He said Devin Haney's going to get stripped. That was against his better judgment. That was him speaking more on emotion, speaking for what he wants to happen. Richardson get the WBC title. He's doing that because Richardson's all he's got right now in that division because Devin he was able to match. He had an option to match for Devin's next fight after Prograis, and he did match, but De La Hoya got his way and has nudged him out of the promotion. So I felt like that was a little bit of saltiness on Eddie's part, understandably so. So I was feeling for Eddie, but props to him. He keeps his head up, and now he gets Boots Ennis, who is, in terms of talent, just raw talent, forget skills, forget resume, just raw, and he's got really good skills. Maybe the most talented fighter in boxing right now. The most gifted fighter in boxing right now, Jaron Ennis. And Jaron was toiling away with he had a deal with Showtime and Steven Espinoza was in the PBC orbit, a lot closer to the PBC orbit than he is now with Eddie Hearn. Now he's totally out of the galaxy. And despite being in that PBC orbit, he didn't get now, to be fair to PBC, what I've heard from people high up in the business of boxing was, this is what they tell me, that Ennis was offered Tim Tszyu for the March date, and he turned it down. I was told they tried to get Crawford to fight him. Crawford wasn't interested. So, to be fair to PBC, from what I've heard, they tried to get him Tszyu, and from what they told me, this is, that for whatever reason, the fight didn't happen with Tszyu, and Thurman got that matchup instead. They couldn't get Thurman to get in the ring with him, and Crawford wasn't interested. So, before we go on, to point out that not PBC, but Steven Espinoza, who he had the contract with, they weren't able to deliver him the marquee opponents. They just weren't, and I believe he hasn't fought in, over a year? Let's take a look. Oh, forgive me, Chad, sorry. I think, when's the last time Boots has fought? I think might be a year at this point. And yeah, no, July against Villa. That was a good fight too. Villa's not super known, but it was a really entertaining performance. And Villa beat Rashidi Ellis, who's a good fighter. But yeah, he was toiling away. He was the most underutilized asset in the sport. You can't have, and then trying to appease him and appease us with Cody Crowley, or that didn't really do much for him. And so he goes to Eddie Hearn, and if Eddie Hearn, here's the rankings, right? Crawford, maybe Eddie Hearn, who used to overpay for mediocre fights years ago. Everybody did. He wasn't the only one. Maybe he can overpay Terrence Crawford to fight Jaron Ennis. Terrence Crawford, who turned out to not have as lucrative options as he thought, and wants to play hardball with the PBC. He's his own man. So maybe Crawford's options aren't as lucrative as once believed, and maybe Eddie can overpay him and make an Ennis fight. That would be beautiful. But barring that, he can't get Spence. He didn't get Spence when he was, closer to the PBC orbit. He's not getting Barrios, and he's not probably getting Stanionis. Stanionis and Barrios, WBA, WBC interim regular champions, PBC guys, or in the PBC orbit at least. It's always a little rough to exactly define what's going on. And then right here, Giovanni Santillan, who's in line to fight for the WBO. It's that's Top Rank, and Top Rank's not going to feed him to him. Move on up to 154, which is what he's in all likelihood gonna have to do. And right here is where he could get some action. Bakram from Russia, don't even want to try to pronounce the last name, who won the IBF title over the weekend. And Israel Madrimov, who many of us know and are impressed with his flashy footwork and skills, but is still only had 11 fights. The WBA champ and the IBF champ. Kathy Duva has the Russian champion. She's easy to make a deal with. So that shouldn't be too hard for Eddie Hearn. As long as Eddie Hearn breaks her off the right amount of bread, he could probably get that guy in the ring with Boots. And then Boots could get mandated for the IBF at 54 by moving up. And then Israel Madrimov, right? So, but Sebastian Fundora and Tim Tszyu, and yeah, you could forget about that probably now, because he wasn't getting those fights while he was closer to PBC. He ain't getting them now. So, basically, shout out to Chris Venegas. Chris, with the 200,000 subscribers, I am so humbled by every channel now. Not that I didn't respect everybody before, but now that I have to get it from the mud myself too, I just have so much, it's humbled me. I have so much respect for everyone like Chris that has built their own platform. So anyway, on to damn it, True School, shut up! True School, you're getting out in front of me. True School, who is the best in the biz. This is my live, okay? And you're one step ahead of me. So here's basically the optimized game plan for Boots, if it's just all about Boots, right? If you're Eddie Hearn. First and foremost, before you move him to 54 to fight Madrimov and the Russian champ, the IBF champ, have a nice little going away party at 47 with Conor Benn. But does Eddie Hearn really want to do that? Conor Benn's a name in England. Even though he can't fight in England right now, he's a name in England. And his father, Barry Hearn, promoted Conor's father, Nigel Benn. And that goes deeper than money. So there's an affinity that Eddie has for Conor. I'm very sure of it. But if it's all about making Jaron Ennis a star, move number one, you match Conor, you feed Conor Benn to Jaron Ennis, because you are feeding him to him. Conor Benn may be a good fighter, but Boots Ennis is a couple of levels above. I saw Conor Benn fight Pete Dobson a month or two ago in the afternoon. I was ringside at the fight, so it was True School. And, good fight, but he was very competitive with Pete Dobson, who is a very solid guy, very solid, competent pro. But Jaron Boots Ennis has superstar talent and ability. That's many levels above. And Conor Benn, I think, is closer in level to solid Pete Dobson than spectacular Jaron Ennis. So you feed Conor Benn to Boots, and that's a good shot in the arm at 47. Then you move him up to 54 to get Madrimov and the Russian champion. You unify there. And here's the thing, BT. Here's the thing, True School. True School talking about Virgil Ortiz. One problem, True School. Oscar, not anytime soon, is making that fight. And Virgil himself has star potential. He's very good. Very, very good. As some people got mad at me, but I would favor him over, Errol Spence. Even before Spence lost to Crawford, I thought Virgil has better hand speed than Spence and is younger and fresher. So I think Virgil against Tim Tszú's a great fight. Virgil against Sebastian Fundora, he could beat either one of those guys. But the Ennis fight, it's not some big money fight, not yet. And Ortiz, he ain't beating Jaron Ennis if they fought. Ortiz is really good. I'm very high on him. Don't get me wrong. But he's not beating Jaron Ennis. So why would Oscar De La Hoya make that fight? So in summation, the optimal game plan, realistic game plan. Okay, well, first of all, the Fantasyland game plan is overpay Terrence Crawford so that he'll fight Jaron Ennis on DAZN. That's option number one. That's the one I love. It ain't my fucking money. I just want to see the fight. So, Eddie, please overpay Terrence so that you can make an Ennis fight. But barring that, a more realistic game plan would be feed Conor Benn to him, get him up to 54 to get him 2 belts, do it within a year, have him fight those 3 fights in 12 months, and then a year from today, he's sitting much prettier, has a lot more credibility, with the hardcores, and I get it. Let me go Leonard Ellerby for a minute. Hardcores don't sell pay-per-views not to the level that you need to be a true star crossover, but it's always good to have some legitimate credibility in anything. And getting 2 belts against undefeated, relatively unknown, boxing fans know Madrimov, it'll still be good for him. And, give him 2 of the 4 belts, and that's the most realistic path right now for him. Also, what's funny, looking at these rankings, is seeing Jermell Charlo, and he feels irrelevant to the division, even though he's the champion of the division. After what happened with him and his girl, and the performance he had against Canelo, even though he is the champion at 54, he just feels irrelevant right now. So, wow, we wound up getting over 100 people in. That is beautiful. What's up, Boston's? What's up, Jairo Galvez? Boston saying sees the interviews. Levels yet. Pete Dobson is a Jaron Ennis sparring partner. That tells you everything right there. I didn't know that, True School. See? True School in the building. Thank God. Sup, Sean? Good to see you live again. What's up, Charles? What's up, Caleb? Much love to you, Caleb, Charles, Michael Manning, Red, Caleb again, Tay, Unknown Samurai, Brewski, Molly Mall, always, Wet Casements. Who else do we got to shout out here? But and yeah, that's about everybody who's been in there. So yeah, God bless from the UK, says Ian O'Connor. Thank you, Ian. I'll try to put a little brogue on it. But that's about it, man. I sometimes my lives would drag on because we'd be getting the super chats, and super chats are gonna make you keep talking. But sometimes I'm thinking I gotta keep these to 45 minutes to an hour, so that for those of you that missed it, I don't care how much you like me or anybody, you're probably not going to go back and listen to a 3.5 hour live. But if I could keep it to 45 minutes to an hour, I feel like a lot of you who missed it and got off work doing something else, you'll come back and listen to it if it's 45 minutes to an hour. So we're at the hour mark, and I'm going to go ahead and call this a day. I feel like I got out everything I had to say, and I love you guys for joining in. You guys are awesome. And I'll be seeing everyone tomorrow. Hop back on. I finally get, since I'm not monetized anyways, the copyright don't matter. So I'm going to go live tomorrow with something I've always wanted to do. Throwback Thursdays. Me talking like this to a fight. Fuck it. I'll go to the fight we're doing. We're doing 2 fights tomorrow. De La Hoya Gotti and Mayweather Gotti. Rest in peace to my paisan, Arturo Thunder Gotti. But I love you, Arturo. Rest in peace. But we're gonna start with you because 2 of my favorite performances came against him from Oscar and Floyd, and we're gonna watch them both and compare. So this is how we're gonna do it. Chat. I'm gonna be down here in this little bubble, this little square down here, and I'm gonna just talk about the fight just like this. Something I've always wanted to do. It's a real hardcore niche thing, but I just can't wait to do it tomorrow. And I know some of the younger fans that follow the channel, you guys may not have seen a fight like De La Hoya Gotti on HBO back in 01. So lock back in tomorrow if you guys got time, and let's watch some old fights. Let's bullshit on Thursday night, all right? Everyone, God bless. Thank you so much for coming, and hope to keep getting better for you guys as we keep going on. Peace. It's not Tay Jones bombs, but it's all right. It's all right.